welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com Broiler Chicken Show. Trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Welcome to the Broiler Chicken Show. It doesn't look like there's that many people watching, so maybe we'll take it slowly here while people get notifications that the video has started. If anything, not a bad idea to hit that, I think the little bell button on your YouTube thing, so at least you know when these shows start. I do see, we used to have the ability to schedule shows here. But something got screwed up a week or two ago, and that's disappeared now, and I don't know when it's going to come back. So I hope there are a few people who get to watch the show after the fact. I think if I'm not mistaken, we had a good 600-700 people watch this video last week, so that's not so bad. Hopefully we're making a positive difference in this world, trying to get the message out. Brian is the demonstrator of best practices. I don't know whether he's going to make $1 million here next week, but slow and steady wins the race, and just make damn sure you don't blow yourself up, right? What's your number one job as a trader? And actually, it's interesting. I put myself on a very strict regiment. Been thinking I do like the idea of doing in-person boot camps, but at the same time too, I do like the idea that you need, like we had one person who's like, where's your 5 years of audited statements and stuff? And frankly speaking, I'm not going to go through and do all that myself. So what I actually decided was, why don't I just go back to my old prop firm? I just re-enrolled in their combine. If I can pass the combine, and they say, hey, Brian, we want you to manage some money for us. Well, that should be enough evidence into itself. Also, too, though, I'm going to detail specifically the steps taken to pass this combine. And actually, the interesting thing about this is this is basically if I was going to do the boot camp, and I've been running this since actually, I guess, since March, good 6 months now. Everything that we would do with the boot camp and everything to sort of train you how to sort of set yourself up for success day in, day out. And now specifically, I mean, I run a ton of different trading plans. I could trade my own futures account, but for some reason, I mean, I got like 50 G sitting in an AMP account just waiting to go. But I don't know. I'm just not there. I have a feeling I'm supposed to go back and square up with good old Eddie in Nebraska and Hogue, and make them proud of me again. I think this is all supposed to go like full circle, right? The circle of life, the circle of trading. It's actually this would be exactly 10 years. And it's funny, whenever I go on that old prop firm, I always ask John Hoagland. He never could really get into the whole Bitcoin thing, and he always called them beach balls. So I always ask him, hey, you trading beach balls yet, John? Fun joke. So you can see this would be like a very typical trade log. You can see also, too, I have my trading plan. If you do decide to take the education program here at TRI, which I would highly encourage anybody who really does want to learn how the process, how you go about running a small business of trading. We still have a couple of days left until the school program starts. Oh, look at that, 12 hours. So you got 12 hours. By all means, I think Chris includes this link in the descriptions below. Hit the links below and all that kind of stuff to get this kind of thing. If you are interested in participating in the program, this is basically what you're going to be here to learn. How do I build a plan? What should go into my plan? Do you have a pretty good idea what the hell you're doing this for? Why are you doing it? And then, of course, how are you going to do this? Your technical plan. And then, of course, does your model even make sense? So anyway, this is basically my approach to trading. And first week out of the gate, didn't really want to be too active. And then on Thursday, I'm not quite sure what happened, but went out, hung out with Liam Thursday afternoon, of course. And I came back that night. I was sicker than a dog, and I've basically been in bed now. I literally forced myself to stay in bed almost all day yesterday, and a good portion of Friday. So I feel a little bit better now, not so nauseous, so that's good, and the stomach isn't bugging me. But I was pretty pissed off because Friday actually was just an absolutely textbook setup. And the irony of it all is I don't really plan to trade on Mondays and Fridays. They're usually kind of wonky weeks. But Friday actually was very quiet. There was like almost no econs to really mention. And so as a result, the trade setups I actually set up just like, when there's no fundamental drivers, the technicians take over, and, overbought markets are overbought. So anyway, did have somebody in the daily brief request room actually ask if I could go through this setup. So we'll go through the newsletter, then we'll circle back. I didn't really see anything, the school term's out right now. We're just starting a new school term. So it makes sense that, student questions are kind of on the light side right now. If anything, if you do have a question you wanted to ask and you are a TRIer, you might as well pop in here now and fire your question in. And now's about the best time you're going to get it answered. And also too, I'll glance over on the YouTube page and see if there are any questions there that maybe I can address. And I think, if we run out of time, just keep in mind, I do like to do sort of a follow-up Monday in the after party if there are any questions that I missed, or a rebuttal to questions and statements I made, just readdress them on Monday, so which tomorrow. So be mindful of that. As I said, coming out of the gate, Monday is a pretty, Monday was a holiday, but, this past week was a bit of a light week. It was a light week econ wise. It was sort of people started coming back from the summer break, and you could kind of see herky jerkiness in the marketplace. Didn't really have anything set up too well through the middle of the week. But like I said, as we got into the latter part of the week, there was a really nice setup in crude. So anyway, as I said, I'll see if I can walk you through that. Chris, maybe when I'm gone with Liam, we could maybe move this trades markets of note down a little bit. I don't know. I think there might be a little bit of room here. It's all good, dude. Just giving you some feedback. That's all. So, I think you need to temper any sort of market expectations or enthusiasm with just what's the context of this past week. Hey, Rob, I haven't seen you in a dog's age. Nice to see you, bud. And actually, I haven't seen Shane on the site in dog's age as well. Actually, it was interesting. We had Colin on the call, and he said that he had seen Shane because he lives back east, and now Shane lives in Eastern Canada. So Colin had said that he had seen Shane recently. He's the meow guy. Anyway, all right. So what happened this past week? Our write up here, and I do this, an hour or two before we get the call going, just sort of review what the hell happened. So past week saw Wall Street come back, of course, from its long summer break. And we always say that the professionals they're usually off in the Hamptons through the summer. They don't really care about the stock market. They usually knock the market back down when they come back from their break. September is always the worst performing month in the market. Every once in a while, probably once every 4 years or so, you have an anomaly where September's up. And it always seems to be that year. People are like, see, no, that's not true. But generally speaking, and if you look at like the Trader's Almanac, for sort of validation. September is historically a really poor performing month. Um, Actually, I noticed too, I don't know that you can see this, Chris. It looks like the headings here are cut off on this image. There you go. Anyway, sorry to mention this stuff to you. Do you think we can clean that up when I'm gone with Liam this afternoon? I don't know. Maybe. Thanks, man. You're a scholar and a gentleman. All right. So the first week back from holiday, and actually I thought it was interesting. Tomorrow, Monday, September 11th. Uh-oh. Dun dun dun. I think now I wouldn't even be surprised if actually tomorrow they do a big sort of, you don't want to use the word celebration. That's not the right term. Commemoration? I guess that's what it is. So I doubt you're going to see another event like that again. I mean, that would be crazy. And of course, how much of 9/11 was a manufactured event by George Bush and all his cronies and Dick Cheney and all that. That's another conversation for another rant for another day, eh? Don't know whether we want to open up that can of worms. But I don't think you're going to see too much happen tomorrow, being September 11th. But following that, we do have actually quite a bit of econs coming down the pike here, which we really didn't have last week, and a lot of inflation numbers. And the one thing that I think the market is quite concerned about of late is I think that the powers that be, central planners, central banksters, whatever you want to call them, they went and hyperinflated the economy, the Great Reset. We all know what they're doing. Milton Friedman, inflation is a function of money supply. Why does the public just keep being so ignorant about this? And do I really need to get all upset again over this stuff? I mean, you know how the story goes. If you really want to understand how the money system works, go watch the Money Masters videos that I show you guys all the time. And should be like required watching of anybody who really wants to learn how to actually run a small business of trading. So we won't go down that rabbit hole again. But what I find really interesting now is, the politicians, and God, the idiot politicians in my country, they are just the most stupidest. None of the people that are running the government have no experience in economics and finance at all. In fact, the guy that was the finance minister in the previous rendition of this government was probably the only guy who had any credibility whatsoever. And of course, he was caught up in a big old scandal. What a joke. How can you tell when a politician's lying to you? I mean, the thing is, 50 years in, you would think that at some point we would get our head on straight and clean up these assholes, quit them. I mean, have you seen the leader of the Republican Party down in the United States of America in the Senate right now these days? I mean, it's laughable, our leaders. I'm not surprised that there are people around the world that actually go, you know what? If I was going to take a poke at NATO and the West, this is a pretty good time to do it because these guys are idiots. Oh, anyway, rant. So we are now in the phase, I think we're now in the phase where we had the cost push part of the inflation. The banksters, of course, diluted the crap out of the money supply. There's nothing we can do about it now, folks. They fucked us. The only thing now, I suppose, we got to go get some sort of maybe I don't know. What's a soothing gel for all of our collective butts and try and deal with the pain. And now, ironically enough, now's the part of the cycle that the demand pull part of the inflation cycle, where the workers are just simply saying, hey, you've completely screwed us, thanks. prices have hyperinflated, and I would like some more money when I work for you as a slave, to try and pay for all these inflated prices. And how ironic, these central planners, they have publicly said that their goal is to inflict pain on the public, and you are not allowed to ask for those pay raises because that's inflationary. Oh, what a joke. So anyway, the longer you live and the more you actually like take the wool off of your eyes and see reality, the more upset you get, looking at how corrupt this whole world is. So, and then, one of my monikers is PMA for the win, because what you have to do is be able to look at how brutally corrupt this whole species is, and then somehow try and be positive about all of this. Good luck. The one good thing about what we do here at TRI is if you plan and you are patient and you are disciplined and you understand the rules of the game, you should be able to outperform these jerks, because these jerks are stealing money out of your pocket. But what you got to be able to figure out how to do is take more money from the market than the money that they're stealing out of your pocket. It's like the funnel coming in has got to be bigger than the funnel going out. And that's basically what we do. And if anything, in this part of the cycle right now, you have to be uber patient, uber disciplined, because as long as the Fed is saying we want to inflict pain into your life and we want to slow the economy down, this is not the time when you're going to get stinking rich from speculating in the market. If anything, this is the time when Wall Street is going to try and steal your money from you with stop runs and liquidity pushes and FUD injection, fear, uncertainty, doubt, all that kind of stuff, and get you to act emotionally. And in fact, I might even argue that they are going to try and get you to panic sell at the bottom of the market. It's what Wall Street does, and they're very good at it. So if you are, and I've said this repeatedly over the years, I mean, I've done thousands of these videos on YouTube. Our channel is very, very robust. So if you're a self-learner, you can sit down and just, start learning. And you're going to have to deal with a lot of little rants from Brian. If anything, I'm one of these guys where you can actually put the video on 2x speed, and you can still somewhat understand me. So if it's like a 2-hour video, you can condense it down into an hour. All right. So Chris says he has a new newsletter link for me. So why don't we pop on over there, and maybe talking with it, at least looking a little crisper, might be a little better. There we go. Look at that. Oh, it's so pretty. Way to go, Chris. You're awesome. Thank you, sir. Where was the other one? There it is over there. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And actually, I'll add this to the library. FYI, site members, if you're watching this later on, you're like, where do I get the newsletters? I actually post these to the library as soon as I come back from Liam, but you can see sometimes I forget to update these little things. That should be 14. And I think today is 15. Hey, look at that. 15. So, all right. Where was I? So if you are a self-learner, you have the ability, if you want, to just sit and watch these videos and take notes like a son of a gun. I see a bunch of people over there on YouTube saying hello. So all you YouTubers, oh, look at that. We actually have quite a few people here in the Hangout here too. I didn't even realize that. Hello, you Hangouters. What should you have in front of you through these video broadcasts? And I'm serious, because you're here to learn. You're not here for my jokes. I know that's for certain. You're here to learn. Thank you, Nore. Nore is a good example. What do you think, Nore? Do you think you've learned a thing or two over the time that you've worked with me? Hi, Adam. I know Adam. Fuck, Adam's turning into a monster trader. He's a killer spread trader. Nuri's laughing, but you didn't answer my question. I hope you learned a thing or two. I think you have. You're a pretty intelligent young man. So, well, that's good. Um, so yes, one person, and it's only Nuri. Oh, actually, I beg your pardon. Adam also responded. There's 30 of you watching. Come on, you slackers. I mean, that's half the reason why people don't watch is because I sit here and I actually make you guys work through these videos. Son of a gun's gonna make us jump through hoops again, bastard. Anyway. Okay, so the whole point of the matter here is over the coming week or two, we do have quite a bit of inflationary data coming out. And anybody who's kind of thinking, well, maybe the Fed's done raising interest rates and we're near the end of this tightening cycle and bringing pain. I don't think so. One of the tells, we don't really include it here. Actually, maybe we do. I beg your pardon. Maybe I should refrain from jumping to conclusions. Whoops. Can we go in any further? Hey, there we go. Look at that. Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, look at that, son of a gun. So interesting how the only thing that comes out here for Canada is the unemployment rate. So we don't actually show the employment numbers here. But this past week, we saw the employment numbers, whatever you want to call them, come out of Canada. And this jobs report was extremely strong. There we are here. So we had full-time employment change plus 32,000 jobs, and Canada is about 10% the size of the U.S. economy. So if you think about it, that would be like the Americans reporting a monthly jobs report of like 300,000 new jobs. That if Biden got that, he would probably cream his pants because he'd be like, hey, they're going to love me. So the point here is that if these central planners are trying to slow things down and trying to slow down that, well, the workers are demanding more money kind of idea. Well, they're not getting it. They're still piling on the jobs here. And this is extremely bullish of the economy. So I can't see how they're going to lower interest rates anytime soon. And I think the general consensus is that even the central planners themselves have said that don't expect us to be lowering interest rates anytime soon. And you can see that they were kind of hoping that the economy was breaking here, and they were kind of hoping that they were actually going to get the employment situation to calm down, and the exact opposite happened. This huge boom. In fact, if 39,000 is the real job, this is just full time. There's also part time jobs as well. That's very, very bullish of the economy. And yeah, the unemployment rate actually ticked down, which is the exact opposite direction that they want this thing to go. So I can't see them lowering rates anytime soon. And if anything, if they don't continue raising interest rates, this is going to be inflationary. Anyway, we do have some data points coming out this coming week, which I think is probably going to be what the market's going to primarily focus on. And the market doesn't give a rat's ass about Canada, but it is an interesting anecdote as sort of United States' little cousin. But if we look at next week coming down the pike, which is sort of like the pros have been back for a week. If we look at next week instead of the previous week, actually, whoops, that's kind of weird. I guess that's not next week, that's this week. This week. Maybe that. There we go. So you can see we've got out of the States, huge, big numbers, inflation rate, all that. Wednesday, it's going to be one of these wild days. You might find that the market like gaps violently higher on the open and then melts down through the day or vice versa. And Thursday, we have more big inflation numbers, retail sales. So big events. And then also, too, it looks like we have some sort of, like GDP data coming out of China. So this coming week's going to be pretty thick. And if I'm not mistaken, next week after, not this week, but next week following, we have the September Fed meeting. So just be prepared for a bunch of inflation talk coming out this coming week. It is interesting in the face of that our breadth indicators have actually rolled over. I think I told you guys recently, and it's a good rule of thumb, that when you see the crypto breadth go bullish, but the stock market, the S&P 500 breadth is still negative, then don't expect a hell of a lot. If these two are pointing in the same direction, then actually you can start seeing some fireworks. And lo and behold, and actually, interestingly enough, this signal here, buying here and then selling here, it was net profitable, which is interesting. And now we actually at TRI, we now have this system actually completely automated. And I was so happy about a week or so ago because you could see all the damn trading plans. It's just too much for one guy to do. So you can see that I got all excited as of basically September 1st, the computer has officially taken over. Yay! And on my chart that I watch the Bitcoin and track all the Bitcoin signals and stuff, which is over here. It's one of these. There we go. Now all I have to do, which is totally awesome, is just post what the actual system is doing. And I got to say, and this is why, I mean, it's tough to trade algos manually. But now that I've got this all automated, that was perfect. Excellent. Nice signal. My trading plan here is just to be long only. You could short, and we could have the system shorting as well now, but this is exactly what I want to see, right? So we got the signal, market's weak, and if anything, this kind of looks like a bearish bot, where probably we're going to do something. In fact, actually, I think I have this as over here, yeah. So I'm kind of thinking, well, actually, the bearish bot would just be this little one, A, B, C, D. That'll take us down into here. But there's also this really big one that's floating out there on the 4-hour charts. So, show me lower highs and lower lows. That generally is not a positive sign. And as I said there a moment ago, what I like, and, it's taken us a long, long time to get to this point. Man, we must have spent years, like literally never been closer, never been closer, never been closer. Well, we're finally here. We've got the algos up and running. They're actually trading away, and super excited. And I think that this is definitely worth the money invested. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, this sell signal here actually produced something like $1,000 movement in the price of Bitcoin. It was like a 10% movement. So the entire, literally, well, maybe somewhere between 5 and 10%. Literally, the entire annual subscription of to the algo and dashboard model paid for on just one trade here. And actually, who's done just a fantastic job highlighting this is oh, excuse me. Person who's done a great job tracking this and highlighting it is Josh on the TRI Twitter page. It's done just such a beautiful job of highlighting the system at work. Just so awesome. So proud of these guys. Where was that? First one, I want to find something. Here it is. Look at that. Jeez, it's so pretty. So we got like this, I think was, I don't know, there's this signal here. But just the most beautiful signal here. And of course, I fat fingered the trade, trading it manually, so I completely missed the damn trade. And then there was actually, maybe this is earlier in the summer. But anyway, So proud of the team. They really have done a great job highlighting this. So, point of the matter here is, and we give you sort of a sneak peek in these weekend videos, just what is the algo saying. And unfortunately, the algos are actually very negative right now, which doesn't surprise me because didn't I say something about September being a crappy month? So, all right. So on top of the fact that we have this inflation issue sort of looming, and is the Fed done? I don't think they're done. Data's still pretty strong, blah, blah, blah. Some weird stuff coming out of this crazy country called China. Of course, it's completely dissolved back into a totalitarian dictatorship. I mean, was it ever not? I don't know. I mean, I think they sort of like, I get the impression that the CCP communists kind of they're kind of like one class of their society. They in Russia during the communist days, they used to actually call them commissars because in essence, it was like the communists created their own little class of society. And of course, they picked and chose out of like the KGB and Secret Service and all that crap who their leaders were going to be. And it's sort of the same way in communist China. There's just a very sort of a bureaucrat, commie, elite class. I mean, they're kind of weirdos anyway. Um, and I get the impression that that's what they've sort of created now. Um, and then, Winnie the Pooh's come along here and he's like literally either imprisoned or murdered or excommunicated or intimidated anybody who says boo to him into submission. Um, and so now it's a very, and, you see what Hitler Germany, SS, or, Nazi Germany, how that story went, Stalinist Russia, how that story went. Anything you have to feel a little bit badly for the people of China. I mean, it's so sad, this silly species. Why do we keep going down these same damn rabbit holes and we never seem to learn? I'm actually very disappointed in China, to be honest with you. Very disappointed. Anyway, I do understand that there's a lot of politics both direction. And I'm also getting the impression that the political powers that be, don't get me wrong. I mean, you all know what I think about every politician. I don't care whether they're a commie or they're a Western Democratic politician. You use that word democratic very lightly. How do you tell when a politician's lying? This should probably go into your journal. You all know the answer to this. So they're all the same. But anyway, what's coming out of China right now is very bizarre. I wonder whether the West is being played a bit, though, here, in that I do believe that I think you have to call it the Democrat, and I guess you use it like capital D, the Democrat political party in the United States of America, and then of course all the sort of associated allies. Like I've always found it amusing how George Bush and Dick Cheney and all those guys came up with 9/11, and yet Tony Blair is actually the one in Europe who's sort of tarred with the same brush about sort of justifying that whole war in Iraq, which was total bullshit. There were no weapons of mass destruction or anything like that. I think in a weird sort of way, this is the Democrats' turn. It feels as though, and it sounds like the Democrats are literally trying to justify starting World War III. And one good example of this is I saw one gentleman this weekend who reported that, and I think almost everybody in the West right now is assuming that this is actually the truth, but actually I don't think it is. That the CCP, and it was all over the market late last week, that the CCP had outlawed the use of Apple equipment, cell phones and whatever, by government officials. And then somebody had pointed out that the person who actually posted the news was a pro-Western paid blogger in China. And when they actually asked CCP government officials about this, nobody had any idea what the hell they were talking about. So I get a funny feeling that the West they're trying to juice the West into justifying going to war with China over Taiwan. Or, maybe Taiwan isn't the issue. Maybe it's just the South China Seas. Maybe, accidentally an American warship or something is targeted. Who knows? Keep in mind that before 9/11, the U.S. Destroyer Cole was bombed in the Persian Gulf. Actually, I think it was just outside the Persian Gulf. And I think that they had thought that that would have been enough to actually justify the getting the war started. And it wasn't. People in the West were like, so what? But, if you see, some sort of event happen in the South China Sea and it's a provocation for war, it solves a couple key problems. I mean, the number one key problem for Biden right now is that I think most of the American population think that the guy's senile. I mean, he should be in old folks' home. I mean, hell, you see the leader of the Republicans in the Senate right now. I mean, that guy, he's like half dead. I mean, it's incredible that guy has as much power as he has in this world. It's absolutely baffling. So if we can manufacture a big fat war and, shiny object, just exactly like 9/11, nobody talks shit about George Bush following 9/11. Everybody fell in love with the guy, and well, he's our dear leader now, and we'll follow him into the grave. And maybe that will actually derail this tsunami of Trumpism that I see right now. And it's the same thing in my country. The leader in my country right now, if he walked out in public, he would probably get punched in the nose by anybody who had the opportunity, including a woman or even a houseplant for that matter. I mean, the guy is just absolutely despised in our country right now. But if they go and, manufacture this war, maybe even manufacture a state of emergency, they might even postpone the elections next November. Who knows? In this crazy ass fucked up 21st century world, it would not surprise me one bit. So that was one thing that really shocked me when I learned about this weekend, was that it turns out that this whole Apple stuff that we were like rammed down our throat into the end of the week, and it did knock Apple's price down quite a bit, is all fabricated. There wasn't any truth to it at all. So it just goes to show that, you hear Brian bitching about Winnie the Pooh and Vladdy the dickhead. Well, I mean, our Western leaders are just as bad. How do you tell when a politician's lying to you? And it doesn't matter what political party they're in. So sad. Anyway, so let's keep an eye on how this whole Apple story unfolds. You might actually find that the West is actually going to be made to look really, really foolish here if it actually comes to light that the whole damn story was just one big fabrication. And if anything, I think it's important that we all tell the truth. I don't care whether it's one side helps one side or another. I mean, I don't like corrupt politicians. I don't like dictatorships. I don't like governments that act like bullies and stuff. But at the same time, too, the truth is the truth is the truth. So if there's bullshit going around, I'm not going to just sit on it and say, oh, well, this bullshit is all right, but that bullshit is not. No, that's a load of horseshit. Bullshit is bullshit. All right, moving on. Okay, so as we sort of said, we went through a few minutes there. We'll be looking for Fed policy dictates going forward with the data coming out this coming week or so. If I was a betting man, I think I would probably bet that maybe in September the U.S. Fed pauses. But now a lot of people are sort of conjecturing in November, does the Fed try and squeak in one more interest rate raise before we actually get into the election year? Because once we are into the election year of 2024, my feeling is the Fed's actually going to want to step back. And historically, they've always said they do not want for it to be appearing like they are influencing the democratic process. Now, we all know that's a load of horse shit, but nonetheless, it's important that we understand their public facing and what we should expect out of them. And the simple message is if they are going to do interest rate increases, they want to get them done sooner rather than later. And then once we actually get into the election year, you're probably going to hear that the Fed is going to mysteriously say, well, I think we've gotten in front of the inflation problem, so we're just going to stand back for the time being because that's what the data says. Yeah, right, sure, whatever. Anyway, so keep your eyes peeled over this coming week for how nasty those inflation numbers are, and they will definitely dictate the direction of the market. Specifically, of course, within crypto, we did see a bump higher through the week. In fact, we kind of made reference about it, and it actually was bullish enough that it caused me to actually start getting optimistic because I had said to you in last week's broadcast, I can't get bullish of Bitcoin until we actually put in some sort of W on the other side of this trend line. So this was that Cathie Wood's announcement. I do find it kind of interesting that she's not interested in doing a Bitcoin ETF, but she wants to do an Ethereum ETF. That's kind of odd. Was she politely told, look at, back off. Bitcoin's Mr. Fake's asset, and don't you dare get in our way. I don't know. Maybe not. It's a sloppy bottom. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's sloppier than slop. And then, unfortunately, as the week sort of persisted and we moved on, Joe Biden is, I think we will all officially remember Joe Biden as not very crypto friendly. And literally from day one of him taking office right through to today, he has done everything in his power to try and derail the crypto enthusiasm. I think crypto is just too big and it's too altering of a technology to overlook. You can't dismiss blockchain now. In fact, I might even argue that most Fortune 500 companies, by time we get through the end of this growth cycle, I'd be willing to bet most of these Fortune 500 companies use blockchain in their day-to-day transactions, whether it be they use their own blockchains that they've built internally, whether they use third-party outsources to consult on how to use blockchains to improve profitability and efficiency. Well, improve efficiency, which then leads to improve profitability, which of course drives shareholder value, which drives stock prices up, blah, 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 blah. Or whether, they just, it's, what, I'm just going to use Bitcoin and I'm going to use Ethereum now or whatever. I'm going to use Cripple now as my remittance platform, whatever. I don't think you can stop crypto now. I think it's just too powerful. And I think also too that there are powers in the US government that just simply say, look, if we put up too many barriers here, crypto is just going to go overseas. And do you want to be left behind when China all of a sudden becomes crypto central? I saw waves actually perking up. So Russian crypto still technically is rocking and rolling. It's an interesting development. Of course, Sjord over there in Europe, I think he definitely has his nose to the ground there, and He's identified names and stories in Europe that are doing very well crypto-wise. Then, of course, there will probably be stories coming out of Central and South America and stuff that are crypto. So, do the Americans and to a certain degree Canada, do they really want to ostracize themselves, isolate themselves, while the rest of the world continues to follow this crypto revolution? I don't think so. Having said that, what was the sort of talk that kind of knocked the market down here as we were approaching the end of the week? And I think it had everything to do with Mr. Gensler is still very active, and he wants to sort of keep the drumbeat beating that you have to clearly identify whether you are a security or not in crypto, which is totally hypocritical because he won't answer whether Ethereum is or isn't a security. Because of course he has been, been given specific instructions from his higher ups that somebody clearly wants Ethereum story to work. So he is not allowed to shit on Ethereum. And if anything, it's such a great analogy of the brutal corruption of our current system. I mean, it is stunningly corrupt. So, Mr. Gensler, I don't think, I think he's completely destroyed his professional reputation by taking this SEC job. And if anything, I joked with the TRI audience that if anything, he's acting like the perfect university professor. University professors are stunningly arrogant. I mean, they are just over the top arrogant. In our education program, I teach the people, and I was a broker through this. I remember watching it day after day after day as the soap opera played out, how a quote unquote, and I don't even know what you call him, a deemed expert, Alan Blinder, who I've never had any respect for as an economist, out of Princeton, sat there and laughed at John Roth, the president and CEO of Nortel Networks, which was basically Canada's .com proxy. At one point, it represented 35% of the entire Canadian stock market, which is ridiculous. This Blinder guy actually had the audacity to make fun of Mr. Roth because he came out and he had to, as an insider, he had no choice. Him coming publicly at the top of the .com boom saying, you know what, I'm selling all my stock, I'm getting the hell out. And he sold all his stock at 90 some odd dollars a share. It was an options transaction he did with one of the stupid Canadian banks, and they're really, really dumb, so that doesn't surprise me. I mean, they're still printing Canadian mortgages like they're going out of style. That's how dumb they are. But anyway, the point being that this bank, CIBC, bought all of Mr. Roth's stock off him at $90 a share. And within 5 years, Nortel Networks was a defunct company. The stock price was zero, worthless. The paper wasn't even the same value as the toilet paper that you buy at your grocery store to wipe your ass with. So how are you supposed to have any respect for university professors with that memory banging it around in the back of your head? And now Mr. Gensler, university professor, MIT, I teach crypto. Look at me, I'm so smart. Who can't even give a straight answer whether ETH is or isn't a security because he knows bloody well that it is. And if he says publicly that it is, then it means that the whole damn concept of POS is actually completely illegal in the US Securities and Exchange system. So if you're like BlackRock Capital and you own half of the USA and you're long ETH, are you going to tell Mr. Gensler to, you better not speak the truth if you are ever asked about whether ETH is a security? Because if you do, it's going to completely sandbag the whole industry. And, as another analogy, Brian's full of rants today. I heard recently Alan actually came out, and Joe Rogan pointed this out, so there must be some validity to it. because I haven't seen Joe Rogan blatantly lie before, and I don't see any reason why he would have any motivation to lie. Um, Alan came out recently and somebody asked him, what is global warming as big of a crisis as Greta and stuff would make you believe? And he's like, no, not really. Oh, this world, it's just one corruption after another. So if anything, for God's sakes, people, learn the process. Take personal ownership of your behavior and your activity and you managing your own money. Because I absolutely guarantee you, these sons of bitches are going to panic you into panic selling into the lows of the cycle. And that's exactly what this was. This dump here in Bitcoin had absolutely nothing to do with Bitcoin. And there was some clown who came out down here and is like, I'm going to sacrifice my life to save capitalism. That's exactly what the fucking 1% wants you thinking. They want you freaking out. They want you panicking. They want you, oh, get me out, get me out, get me out. Oh, I'll do anything. Just save my money. And you are going to be dumping right into technical buying levels. And the 1% is going to be laughing their ass off at you just a year or two down the road. And it's disgusting how these goddamn fuckers work. But at the same time, too, I'm here to try and help you learn how to not get emotional about this and how you actually have to expect these bastards to act this way. And you have to be buying when all the public is freaking out and crying. And then when they're yelling and when you hear idiots say, well, price of Bitcoin is going to keep going up forever because this time it's different, you have to have the professionalism to say, you know what, maybe I got to start letting some go. Taking some profits, paying yourself for your hard efforts. So that's my job here, including all rants. Now, look at this chart. Way it went zooming up. Way it went crapping out right back down against the lows. Can you not see history repeating itself here? I mean, come on, people. Markets go zooming up. Oh, here we go. Markets are starting to peel back down. And the funny thing is about this is that we know that once every 4 years, Bitcoin has a big old fundamental event that completely, it like literally says, well, you know what? This was the old Bitcoin and now this is the new Bitcoin. I mean, it's quite remarkable how every 4 years they just literally hit the reset button. Klaus's great reset in Technicolor. I bet you Klaus hates Bitcoin. Anyway, so we know that there is a big halving event coming up right around here. Would it not make sense that maybe we pull the price back a little bit, get all the public freaking out and selling into the lows, fear, uncertainty, and doubt? Greenspans, or I keep calling him Greenspan. What the hell is that guy's name? Jerry from Ben and Jerry fame. He comes out and he's I don't know, maybe you should start getting a little bit worried. I don't know. And all they're doing is they're just dumping price against these lows, and you got to be able to step in there and buy into that. Can you do that? I don't know. Can you build a plan to help you with all the anxiety around that event? Yeah, I think so. And, good old reload zones. This stuff is not rocket science. The irony of it all is actually, it's stunningly cliche. There is our reload zone. And, the funny thing is when you see price come into these reload zones, that's when you actually, it's interesting how we got the public actually interested as we were leaving the reload zone. All right, this is of course when the Ripple news and all that was all exciting, and oh goodness, we're all gonna get rich, right? And of course, that was a trap. So if anything, what I'd like to tell people here is you want to make this as simple as possible. Just wait for the market's internals to tell you that they're pointing up. Right now, you can see that the internals are all making lower highs and lower lows. Well, that's not very bullish. So maybe just do yourself a favor. This is a weekly price chart, and just leave this thing alone until it actually starts making W's again. You can see, RSI just oscillates between overbought and oversold. Maybe we just sit and just wait till RSI gets down into that oversold zone again. That's not a bad idea. Anyway you shape it, there's no buy signal anywhere in sight there. If anything, this is like Julian 101, right? But just got to wait for some sort of structure on the other side of that downtrend line. And until you see that, just leave it alone. Anyway, that's probably not the message people want to hear today, but that's my 2 cents. All right, so as we kind of pointed out, things are looking a little heavy on the lower time frame charts. Algos are rolling over, that kind of stuff. September is September. September is usually the worst performing month in the market. Probably also another anecdote as to this market moving higher. The market not happy. The ultimate fear index in the marketplace, the US dollar index, get me the fuck out of risk and just park my money in T-bills and I just go away. You can see how this thing made, actually it made a new high last week. We've just created interesting candle here. Actually, this is a hammer. If we tick up through the highs here, and of course, if that inflation data comes in relatively strong, it's going to mean that the Fed's going to have to continue having its gas on interest rates. I heard that the Chinese yuan is starting to fall apart now because, of course, China has to lower interest rates because their local economy is an absolute train wreck. So, and we had also talked lots recently, if we looked at all the various different international currencies, the Japanese yen looks like an absolute train wreck here. So I'm not really thinking anything bullish here. You can see the beautiful market structure failure. This looks like a bearish bot, which means that the Asian sort of story is very weak right now. And I've said that if you're going to find an area of weakness in the market, it is not going to be the United States. That's not the place to look for economic crashes right now. The place to look for economic crashes is China. I mean, do you see on my fucking Twitter feed? When I saw this, I mean, I sit there when I was sick and I just was surfing through these YouTube shorts. Actually, yeah, Chris has put together another YouTube short for you. It's super cool. That's Alan. How do I get the YouTube? Actually, I think I did tweet it out on Alan. I think I'm just gonna call this is Alan now. We're just gonna call this Alan. And then some guy last week was like, "What the hell is Alan? Why do you keep saying Alan?" So look at what the Bitcoin OG's reaction was when Elon Musk stuck his big, fat, ugly face into Bitcoin last year. And of course, you notice, he comes out and I'm going to sell all my Bitcoins now just because I'm an OG. And I sure hope he reported a massive loss that he took on that, because that was a horrible idea of him. Anyway, hopefully he was embarrassed over all that. But it was funny that crypto OGs, they came up with the name Alan, and I just took it from them. So I really respect the crypto OGs. I don't respect Alan at all. I think the guy's an asshole. But that's just I'm definitely in the minority over that. And anyway, so moving on. I saw on these shorts, it's shocking what the hell they're doing over in China. All these, there's like whole cities of half-built buildings, and now you can see I don't want to get into trouble for copyrights and stuff. Look at what they're doing. Look at this. They're like all of these half-finished buildings. Now the CCP is just gonna, we're just gonna wipe the story right off the map. That's how fucking brutally, insanely corrupt China is right now. And of course, remember, they forward sold all of these condos to unsuspecting quote unquote investors. I don't know why I have this garbage on here. And what do you think happens to your investment when all of a sudden your building just mysteriously, and it's gone? I mean, when I saw this, I couldn't believe it. They're like literally the multiple buildings all being blown up in unison. So if there was ever going to be a place in the world where you want to look for crash, it's this country. This is just stupidity what's going on here. And it's really sad is that this isn't just limited to like, residential real estate. This is also things like government buildings. So the CCP, of course, these stupid corrupt assholes, they actually they built buildings, and they're government buildings, schools and stuff like that. And because like the guy who has the concrete contract, well, he's going to skim a little bit off the top so he can put some money in his pocket. But the first rainfall, the whole damn building collapses. And this is the horrible part about the CCP, is that they're actually telling the parents of the children that died in these buildings, you're not allowed to say anything, and you must sign this document releasing the government and CCP of all liability, and you don't blame them one bit. And if you don't, there's the bus to the concentration camp. Oh God, this world, it makes you sick to your stomach. I hope to God the fucking world is going to wake up to how awful totalitarian dictatorships are and how awful communism is. I mean, I lived a huge portion of my life, the first half of it, ready to have a nuclear war with the USSR because of how brutally awful the dictatorship was. And like literally would watch people on a daily basis being shot as they tried to go over the barbed wire fences in Berlin trying to escape Eastern Germany. I mean, that's how evil fucking communist dictatorships are. Here is just brutal evidence about how brutally evil these people are. I hope to God the world's going to wake up to this. And if anything, I would love to see a Lehman moment this fall as people in China realize how broke they are because all of their nation's wealth has literally been stolen from underneath them by this CCP. Unfortunately, anyway, that's my opinion. And of course, my country is basically a vassal state of the CCP, which is thanks to this idiot substitute drama teacher who's running my country, has painted us into this corner. Maybe we have a Lehman moment in my country, So somebody over there says, yeah, even democracies suck horse cocks. I said, but I haven't seen this kind of absolutely insane, over the top, brutal corruption in these Western democracies. This would at some point get people, especially the government mandating people that they have to sign disclaimers, making sure that the government is not liable whatsoever for this brutal corruption that is blatantly obvious, and children are dying in these things. That's awful. Awful. Anyway, you all know how I think about CCP, and it's half the reason why I'm basically censored on YouTube and stuff. I think it's brutally obvious. I've been doing these videos for 10 years. There's a reason why there's only 30, 40 of you watching, because Big Brother is probably half owned by these guys, CCP, and there's a deliberate campaign to try and, as Alan said recently, what is it? Freedom of speech is not freedom of reach. So as a result, these people are trying to stifle social media freedom of speech. And I can see it happening in social media all around me. It doesn't surprise me one bit. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Brian going off on rants again. All right, so back to our newsletter. Jeez, get Brian triggered by CCP. And oh God, what happens? Okay, so interesting to see Kathy injected a bit of a bid into the market this past week. And then FTX came out actually later on, along with Gensler. Gensler kind of sort of, and you're talking about democracies and all that, and sort of the, oh boy. Gensler is part of this quote unquote democratic system. And we all know how he is politically motivated. Interesting how they're probably going to try and make sure that FTX can pay back as many creditors as possible ahead of this trial here with SBF here in the fall. It's interesting how SBF has kind of shot himself in the foot down in the States with the justice system and all that. But I wouldn't be surprised if we find that ahead of that trial, and we've been sort of talking, I've been kind of musing about, is it a chicken and egg kind of thing? Is it the tail that wags the dog? What's going to cause us to actually dump down into these lows? Is it going to be that maybe through this trial, we hear a whole bunch of really nasty, nasty talk about how brutally corrupt these crypto kids are? Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. So, be prepared for that. But the news is that the FTX people are going to try and liquidate a whole bunch of crypto assets. And I suppose the rally over the summer has helped them to a certain degree to try and pay back jilted investors. So we'll see how that goes. But I can't see how this is going to be bullish of price. This is going to basically be supply overwhelming demand. And of course, we don't call it the fall for nothing. You have September, of course, those issues always present. September, October are weak months anyway. And of course, we also have the Fed. Fed's supposed to be on the warpath still, so can't really be bullish of crypto and stuff in the face of that. And as we said, we're in the 6 months prior to the halving event, which is usually kind of a soft period anyway. So, I mean, 2 cycles ago, it was uppy, but we did have a big test of the lows that were put in halfway through the summer that year, which I don't think we've had yet. So that's the one reason why I don't think this year is like 2014-15. We had the lows, then we had the counter trend rally. In 14-15, if we go back and look at that chart, you notice that I don't know whether it's going to show it or not. It should. Yeah, right here. Where are we here? Right here. So notice coming out of that summer, so here was July. Notice August, they actually dumped it all the way down to basically right back against the original lows. So you could argue that and I remember this was funny. They dumped Bitcoin all the way down to like $150. I remember there was actually also another one, BTCE, and they said that those were the coins that they stole from Mt. Gox. You don't even hear about BTCE anymore. This, I think, was a Rage Quit by, oh God, I can't remember the guy's name anymore. Anyway, it was kind of a funny story there. But the point here is you can see, you hear Brian talk about candle body lows for trade location, right? So also to notice that this dip right into like 70.2 or basically right into the sweet spot of that reload zone, right? So right in there. So we got that move, this cycle. So there to there, reload zone. Yeah, we kind of touched that, but I really love this level here. And I remember I worked with a guy in crypto that actually had the balls to step in and buy here. It was a great trade on his part. Um, there is that test of that low kind of idea. That's what I really want to see. As we said back in this one, you can tell they even ran the stops of this double bottom here just to piss everybody off. Brought it right back down into the original bottom here. So, fast forward to today. I like the idea that they need to bring this thing back down. Where are we here? There we go. Bring this thing back down at the very least into some sort of reload zone off of this range. And notice if we do reload zone, and then we do like horizontal support and resistance, there's the original bottom. Remember we said last cycle, that gentleman, Kevin, he was able to buy down on the dip down into this window. I would just simply say if we can get anywhere at or below this window right in here, that's a reload zone within a reload zone. I tell you, folks, this is the definition of what we call, and maybe we'll put like this as blue. No, I always do that wrong. Anyway, something like that. And we go great trade location. And that's cool. We love great trade location, but we're not there. That's down here. So my hunch is we got still a little bit of ways to go to the downside here. Actually, it might be interesting just to draw a simple trend line off of these lows. Oops, that's a lower low. That's not so good. Yeah, there you go. So there should be some battle. If anything, kind of like what you saw with this market. Let's see. Does this line up? Yeah, it might be interesting to see. Yeah, there we go. So if we go boom, boom. Yeah. So notice we got to stab through those lows. And then, any kind of reversal signs over here. This is a weekly chart. Maybe on a daily chart, you get a better level. But, this kind of event is what we need to see to mark that, yep, we're done. So in comparison, that would be a dip event, maybe something along these lines, right? Dip and then out. So we got to get through that first. You want to work some stink bids down in here? Not a bad idea, but just follow your plan. And of course, if you are going to work stink bids, make damn sure they're like little old lady size. You don't need to go and throw in a stink bid for like a mortgage worth of Bitcoin only to see it sit down here for the next 6 months and just piss you off. So any way you shake it, this is not good trade location. This is great trade location. So how long does it take for us to get from here to there? I will say, and this is the public statement that I've made recently a lot, is that, especially if you've been like a TRIer or you've been watching these free videos and maybe you're in other crypto communities and stuff, and you're kind of like, oh my God, this has just been torture waiting for this to finally play out. Well, the good part about it, folks, is we are now in that final 6 months where I don't know what this bottom's going to look like. I wouldn't be surprised if they have to take those lows out, though, to be perfectly honest with you. But we are finally in the window where time-wise, over the next 6 months, there's the halvening event. Now, we're finally at the point where, maybe we can actually start thinking about the market turning back up. So it's been a long wait. In fact, I remember one guy on this site when we were doing videos in a different format. I was doing those weekly shows with site members. And he even said through here, he said, Brian, I've listened to everything that you said and you've taught in the class. And if we're up here, there's the buying window down there. I'm just going to leave this thing alone. And I'll come back when this thing is put in weekly W's and done its reload zone tests and is starting to trend higher. And we're on the other side of having events because that's easy mode. This is actually still hard mode. And I would just simply say, you want, again, for your journals, right? Do you want to wait for the halvening events before you actually start thinking about the next crypto cycle? Not a bad idea. Do you want to wait for the Federal Reserve Board if you want to make this as simple as possible? Wait till they are actually cutting interest rates, because that's when the market is softest and they are going to throw bags of money at the market to try and keep it up. Probably, and I don't. I actually think that those two events are actually basically side by side. Do you want to wait for a political event like the end of this socialist tyranny around the world, and you start seeing like pro business and pro capitalism and pro individual rights politicians starting to take over the system? That's a great tell for when we should be able to make money in the market. While the socialists are in power, probably best just to cool your jets. And I have a feeling that's, I mean, we're back in cool your jets mode. I put tweets out about this. When these bearish divergences are working, you should just cool your jets. Don't be in a big hurry to do anything. Okay, rant. Wow, that's a lot of rant. Now, you want to see actually an idea that's setting up nicely for this coming cycle? And keep in mind, you know, Brian's usually right, but Brian's usually early. Here's an idea that we're kicking around in the Secret Options Formula Club. This is a bull call spread, or you know, the kids, they're all enamored with. Actually, I'm not even quite sure who they're enamored with, but anyway, they're calling it a net debit spread because you have to pay more for a near-term call, and then you write the deferred call, which is a little bit less money. So on balance, it's a debit. When I was a options broker, we called it a bull call spread. So this is a really good example. This is a blockchain stock, Marathon Digital, Mara. We made great money when this thing went zooming up last cycle. No reason why we can't do this again. And you know how cliche, you can see how this thing's working its way right back down into reload zones. And we're actually looking at, you can buy options now on Mara for December 2025, which is in essence, what, about like almost 2.25 years from now. I like when I can buy those kind of options. So I could buy the 25 call and write the 30 call. And the interesting thing with Mara is if you actually just pull up the price chart, you see that, well, actually, if we do something like here to here and do good old Collins dump chaser zone, this would be conservative price objectives. You can see 38.2 is actually where we would make our most money on this option. And literally, you're buying it at 92 cents, this spread. You're going to buy the 25s at 4.20, and you're going to sell the 35s at 3.28, 92 cents. And if this trade does go up and tag this 38.2, this trade's worth $10. That's better than 10x. I mean, the irony of it all is that if you wanted 10x on buying the stock at $10.91, that means the stock has to go up to over $100 here, right? There's 10x. So, I mean, this is why we like trading the spread so much. And Zach actually has a full course on teaching you how to build a trading plan and how to hunt these spreads. And he even has beautiful mathematical formulas that tells you what is a good price to pay for the spread versus what isn't. And Zach's actually given this trade his golden seal of approval, where we could probably just get a rally back to test these highs here, because probably what's going to happen over the next 6-8 months is this makes some sort of head and shoulders type event here. And as I said, over the fall here, I do fully expect this market to come back down. And if anything, if this is a valid head and shoulders pattern, we should actually come down and test this low in earnest down here. Trying to get this thing to cooperate, sorry. So you can see this dotted line here. That left shoulder, we should not see the market break that low. So you can see the right shoulder here. We could come all the way down into here, no problem. Anywhere in this area, you know, Brian and his crazy reload zones. If we come anywhere down into this box, I'm more than happy to be a buyer. There is that sort of magic line in the sand. It's against the 88.6. I might see that happen. So, you know, we might actually even be able to get this spread a little cheaper. But this is, I think, a really interesting way to play this upcoming bull market move in the stock market. It is bull market move in crypto because the cycle peaks in 25. We all know the story of how these things go. End at 25, beginning at 26. And this is a way you can actually play it in the stock market where you could get, in fact, you know, if you're just patient here, you might be able to pick up the spread for like 50 cents, 75 cents, somewhere in there. Then you're talking like, 15, 20x on your money. And really all we're asking for is, can this thing trade back to the 38.2? Full disclosure, I fully expect into this next cycle, we actually take out the highs and this thing trades at new highs. So, but in the near term, I think there's actually a really cool trade setting up here. So that's why I included this one in particular in our write up here this week in the trades markets of note. If you are a spread trader, and I would imagine there's probably not too many people who do watch these videos that are, if you happen to be in the TRI education program and you can get yourself into the level 4, then Zach will teach you this trading strategy and probably even use Mara. In fact, actually, he got off one just recently, and I wanted to join him, but I was too chicken shit. And now the damn trade's already almost hit his objectives, and he's going to get a double out of it. He was buying into the banking mess. This is Key Corp, and actually interesting, I even saw a commercial for them yesterday. He was buying bull call spreads into this dump here. And the market jumped up following him getting filled down here. And he was even saying the other day that he's just within 5-10 cents of getting a double off. He'll sell 2/3 of the position at double, get his original money back. And he's laughing all the way to the bank. And you tell me, does this thing have any room to move up here? And that's 27 bucks. This is $8, 50% levels up in here. So it just goes to show it's just another great spread trade that Zach put on. Gotta tell you, man, these TRI options traders, they are turning into some badass options traders. So, yeah. All right, so we talked breadth, we talked rhetoric, we talked politics, probably too much, typical Brian. Talked interesting chart for you to consider. We didn't go through the Bitcoin, so let's maybe take 10 minutes and just go through this. So what did I say here today with regard to Bitcoin? I think I've talked a lot about this as we've gone here over the past hour, so most of this will just be sort of a reiteration. All right, so the process of correcting the 23 rally, and this is if anything, this is a really, really good example of how Bitcoin has become securitized. So the typical trade in the stock market is you buy assets in October, November, December. Remember, the pros come back from the Hamptons in September. They push prices down into buying windows. Then into October, November, December, they're on the buy side. Buy when it snows. That's the cliche. If you have your journal out and you haven't heard this before, write it down. Take a screenshot of this, put it in your journals. And then they bid the market up through January, February, March, April, May, June. And then as soon as the public starts getting their tax refunds and they're feeling rich and they want to join in on these big bull markets, and guys on social media are telling you buy Ripple, it's going to go to $100 a coin and you'd be an idiot not to. So you come all in and you FOMO into the market, right into the seasonal peak, sell when it goes. Well, this is just business as usual for Wall Street. So here comes another buy when it snows window. And my hunch is they're going to slowly work this thing down into that window. I'm a little concerned that they might even put in the ultimate lows in the beginning of the new year, just like I showed you previous cycle. I could very easily see them do that. But once we get on the other side of the halvening event, then I think we're ready for the new bull market. But anyway, point here. Process of correcting the 23 rally is well underway. Put out lots of warnings. Coinigy, I did a show with them. Even talked to Colin and his crew recently about this. Massive bearish divergences. I showed you it in RSI. You can also see it in the MACD indicator, which is my sort of favorite raw momentum indicator. When this thing M's out, you can see we were getting warning signs on Bitcoin all the way back in my birthday in May. And of course, the rally that was through the summer, this was all on Peter Fink's. I want a Bitcoin ETF. Is this have anything to do with the fundamental value of Bitcoin? No, it's all about me wanting to securitize Bitcoin and take advantage of it and shill all these Bitcoin ETFs to all the mutual funds and all the unsuspecting public at the top of the market. Look at me. I'm a capitalist. Jerks. I even joked with Jedi on that Bitcoin show. I don't actually think it's, if you are a fan of blockchain, if you are a fan of Bitcoin, I don't think it's actually in our best interest to have these ETFs and to have Peter Fink. I even heard last week that literally they're getting ready. Peter Fink is going to try and take over the blockchain. He's going to try and take over the Bitcoin blockchain, folks, which is probably going to create one of these forks. And we've been down this road before. How much difference is there between Craig Wright and Peter Fink? I actually think they're basically cut from the same cloth. What do you guys think of Craig Wright? Did you like him? Hey, TBG says, Brian, your rants are priceless. Capital letters. Well, usually, okay. And actually, Chris is telling me we probably have a bunch of TBG, you got to put those questions in the Q&A document so that when I come to the Q&A document, I go, okay, well, let's answer the questions people are asking. Can you do me that favor? Here, right? I mean, I look at this today and I go, oh, it turns out there aren't any questions. So, all right, we guess we don't have to worry about questions. So if you do have a question, if you're a TRI or if you're a TRI over there on YouTube, and you got questions, or if you happen to be in the Hangout here, for God's sake, post them in here, and then I will answer them. But if I see this, all you're going to hear is just another hour of rhetoric out of Brian, and then he's going to say, all right, well, time to go. Because I got to go to Liam. So anyway, okay, where was I? So lots of cool your jets messages. I'm not really in a big hurry to do anything right now. I did buy a bunch of crypto there in the spring for the little old lady portfolio. And I'm just going to just cool my jets and just wait for everybody to start panicking, wait for everybody to start saying crypto's going to zero. I think you can see the basket that this is the basket that I'm basically going to manage into this next coming cycle. And I will just slowly add to these positions over the next year. So where's my little old lady portfolio? I think this is it here. So you can see got a little Frax thanks to Zook. LTO, that's a Fjord name. Cripple, everybody's loves Cripple. LIT, I don't know about that one. EOS, there's an interesting name from bygone era. POLS, KMD, Matic, Link, Sushi, Come In You. That's my, well, this one's actually going to go to $500 million a coin. And that one coin will actually be able to buy us our island. There's another Zug proxy, is FPIS. C-Pool, this one was from Cole, if I'm not mistaken. I think Cole gave us that one. ARPA, NKN, Doge, might as well ride Allen's coattails. I mean, The one thing about Alan is I'm more than happy to take his money from him. I took a lot of money out of Doge last cycle. I'm more than happy to take the money from him again. I mean, he's got such a cult following. You know, he's going to run the damn thing up this next crypto cycle. I'm still not going to change calling him Alan. I think he's still a doofus. But anyway, that's just my opinion. And you can see I got a whole bunch of other names, including an absolute piece of shit coin that I bought, but I know one of the guys who's involved in it. So I was kind of like, you know what? I want to go grab a bag of this. And if anything, this is my proxy on Alex Sturck. Does he actually do anything with his life going forward in crypto? We'll see. Anyway, so you can see I've got a big bag of all my little old lady positions. I will be adding to them as we go forward. Some of them, actually, people like this one here, which was kind of funny. I was going to add to it, and then somebody told me, well, actually, they're in bankruptcy, Brian, so maybe you better not hold. But I did notice that this thing actually did perk up, and somebody who did buy the lows actually got off a really nice trade right in front of me. So, oh well, it's the way it is. But just full disclosure, I am building my little old lady portfolio for the coming cycle. As well, too, I think we've also told you we now have the computer trading the Bitcoin algorithm, and I'm just going to let that money compound. That might just buy us an island. Who knows? And then, of course, I think, I've got my own like personal registered accounts. I actually have quite a bit in crypto and crypto names in the registered accounts. And actually, I want to buy more. I want to, with my own personal money, I want to go into this weakness that I'm hoping comes. I'd actually like to go and buy a whole bunch of Ethereum and get one of those nodes up and running for Liam. But I'll attack that over the coming 6 months as well. All right. So the summary, back to the summary, which is what I was supposed to be talking about. Where are we? Right, not that. Where did it? Well, anyway, here. Nope, that's not it. It's right here. Now, where the hell it is? Well, I guess we'll just do another one. God, I couldn't believe those stories out of China. That's insane. All right. So as I said, 23 correction, I think, is underway. And I'll know that this thing's ready to go when I actually start seeing bullish divergences on weekly price charts. I don't know how long that's going to take. And that's what I have to wait for. At the very least, I have to wait for some sort of W's to come in on these indicators. And look how many bearish divergences there are that are confirmed. Oh, that is horrific. What this does represent is if we do get any kind of counter trend rallies back up into resistance, this is probably going to represent a really, really good shorting opportunity. But I don't really like the idea of shorting here. I think this is kind of dangerous to short here. Am I long? No. You saw that the algo got me out. So I'm kind of just neutral right now. And I would prefer to see price fall down into my buying window, and then I can start getting bullish again. But not until. Medium time frame. Looking at the daily price chart, basically my conclusion. Oops, it's interesting. The whole damn thing's frozen. Did Alan just kill me? Wouldn't surprise me. What's going on here? Interesting. Alan, I mean, I don't think Alan could control that. But it's fascinating how, let's just kill that. There we go. And I did see, I don't know whether you guys saw, Alan put out a little note. Oh, by the way, we're changing our terms and conditions of tweeting from now on. And in the very fine print at the bottom, if you don't call Alan by his proper name, we are going to excommunicate you. I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. All right, so medium time frame. I always like to do this every week. A higher time frame look, bearish. Just cool your jets. Medium time frame, the daily price chart. You can see this says daily. We've got it's a sloppy area of the price chart. What I did say here was the I want a BTC ETF FU rally. That was this nonsense. And because this was a V bottom, you knew it was going to have to be tested at some point down the road. So that rally is over. And they have now come down and they are testing these lows. So the question now is, do we puke out and just blow through Fink's lows? And it turns out that this was all a trap and it was all bullshit and the market was being manipulated. Oh, what a shock. That wouldn't surprise me, folks. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. So do we puke out into the bottom of the range? It's interesting how I have a bunch of technical targets just a little bit lower than where we are now. So is this maybe just a big FU? We're baked in a whole bunch of stop loss orders here now, and they're just going to run those stops, break a whole bunch of kids' hearts, and then turn it back up. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, this is a horrible trade location. The whole place, this just stinks like yesterday's garbage. Or can we eke out some sort of counter trend rally to form the left, actually that should be to form the right shoulder. Don't know my lefts and rights. Which would be sort of that kind of thinking off of that higher time frame chart, that weekly chart, that this is some sort of big head and shoulders, sort of left shoulder, neckline, head, neckline, right shoulder, fail. Right now, I really can't tell you which way this thing's going to break. I don't think anybody can. But I would say statistical odds, in my opinion, are right. We had the dead cat bounce that relieved the oversold condition. They rallied it right into moving average resistance and it got bitch slapped back down. So what I would just simply say is if this shooting star candle low is lost, then that technically is a very, very bearish development, which would lend to the idea that we're not done correcting here in the short term. So that low, what a surprise, 25,333. You know, the numerologist, fucking, what's her face? Lagarde, she would love that. So you can see our recent low here was 25,386. So they haven't broken that shooting star low yet. If you do see it broken, then I think the odds are very, very good that we continue our way lower. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Haven't seen it broken yet. Then to sort of finish off that thought, lower time frames. Look at this. Why does Twitter suck horsecock so much? Jesus. Where can I pull that back up now? I wonder. Here. But over here. That's this, right? Yeah, there we go. All right. Lower time frame. Basically, my summary is tough to say who's going to win this consolidation battle. I mean, it's just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's quite remarkable how we had buy signals, then sell signals, then buy signals. Just got another sell signal you saw on the algo breadth there. And if we lose this low of this big red candle, then this is like a 4-hour ABCD. So we've got this, actually, maybe that'd be even like a 30-minute ABCD. We've got this bigger AB equals CD pointing. I like this pattern playing itself out. And as I said, the inertia of the market right now is not good. So we've got both crypto and the stock market pointing lower. So, and we also have the slow on both indexes pointing higher, which means that if this thing really is a bear, slow is going to have to roll over and start pointing down and then actually get oversold like this over here before we can actually start even thinking about a bottom. And I mean, look how long the last one. Slow is still pointing up. It had to roll over, then it had to ultimately wash out and then start to turn back up. So this might take a long time for this to play out. And frankly speaking, that would make perfect sense because didn't somebody say something about September and October being kind of a tough time in the market? Didn't somebody talk about how actually we're going to have a whole bunch of supply hitting the market here? Didn't say, I don't know. We didn't even make reference to this, but it turns out that, and just this kind of a funny little anecdote, write it down if you have your notepad handy. It turns out that October 1st, 1/3 of all US debt is actually going to have to be rolled over and refinanced through the month of October. Oh boy. A third of all US government debt? That's a lot of fucking debt. And there's a guy, I can't remember what his name is. He lives down in Colombia now or something like that. I think he calls himself a rebel capitalist or something like that. Anyway, he was going on about it recently about, oh boy, the shit's going to hit the fan in October. So there's a lot of reasons why we should be very leery about this kind of image when you see that on the breadth indicators. That's a be careful, folks, indication. Okay, so there's sort of your summary of the newsletter. I think I did a pretty good job. Oh, isn't that interesting? This is the old one, isn't it? Because it doesn't have that. And it actually still has that image too. I wonder how I got that. Anyway, the newer version of the newsletter, Chris put it together. Looks a little bit better. So sorry about that. Making reference to the old copy. There's the new copy. It cleaned up, a lot better. All right. Okay, so I think I've talked that into the ground. Got about a half an hour or so here to talk question and answer with you. So let's get to work. Hope you guys enjoyed that. It was probably a little, well, I mean, I'm just, all of you regular watchers, you know who I am. You know what I am. If anything, it would be weird if all of a sudden Brian became politically correct and didn't swear and didn't make fun of Winnie the Pooh and stuff, because then you'd be like, who the hell's this guy? So, hey, look at that. Some people actually watching the show and retweeting and stuff. So cool. Okay, is this, I think this is this is the corrected one. Gotta tell you, man, if you trade options, this I think looks like a really, really interesting spread because you're buying yourself 2 years of time. I mean, gee whiz, that's forever in options land. Okay, let's see where should we go next? The Q&A document did TBG, you still never posted anything here, knucklehead. All right, well, nobody's interested in asking a question. I guess we're done here, right, folks? All right, I think we'll leave it at that. Bye, everybody. All right, let's go over to the YouTube page, see if anybody asked anything over there. Oh, actually, you know what? I think, oh, hey, we got some PMs here. Let's see. What's Preston say? All right. So, Preston, yep, you've got your marching orders. Get to work. Zach here. That's not a good sign. Hey, Zach. Ugh. We'll review with team after Liam. Oh man, God, that's a piss off. Hey, when I see that shit. I just don't know where to put this. All right. Let's see what we got here. Questions. I'm sure a bunch of you are like, oh my God, Brian, you are the worst. Let's broil the heck out of that chicken. All right. Well, hopefully I'm not choking the chicken. Happy Sunday, Brian. Journal. Oh yeah, man, I said that. All right. Let's see. Wolf Boy, oh boy, says, "Hi, Brian. Hope you're feeling better." I'm feeling a little weird still, maybe a little delusional. I'm new here and love your work and content. Thank you. Oh, that's kind of cool. On the weekly chart, AAPL. Hey, here's actually a question. Let's see what he has here. Let's go over here. AAPL. Boom. Well, you can see I've done a little bit of work on this thing over the past while. Weekly price chart. All right. Well, I guess you can kind of think what I'm expecting here, right? So maybe I'll tell you what, I'll do you a favor and let's we'll do something like that. I don't know whether you are here, I'll copy the link. I don't know whether that works or not. Not quite sure how that works. So I don't really want you fucking up the chart and stuff. But if I copy, I don't know, I'm just going to copy the image. I'll put it in the I'll put it in the members lounge. There's all the chicken references. So I threw the Apple weekly chart there in the lounge. So let's see, did you have a question? Alex, it looks like it will be washed out down to 120. That will really scare everyone as they dump it. That's where all the buyers will be. 120. So where the hell's 120? Whoa, all the way down here, eh? You think? Could be. I mean, I suppose that's sort of this path. I guess really the question here is this a kind of name that you really want to be thinking about investing in for the future? I don't know. I mean, when you look at something like FinViz, I like these guys. They do a pretty good job at spitting out good fundamentals in a nice sort of usable format. 15 billion shares out. That's embarrassing. I like to quote unquote invest in companies that have 20 to 30 million shares out. So is this a company that I would be even the slightest bit interested in investing in? Nope. It was interesting, like 4 or 5 years ago. I remember when we used to look at Apple, and believe it or not, like maybe it was even it was about 5 years ago. Apple was actually a value stock for a long, long time. It used to trade at like literally single digit PE ratio, which in itself is hugely valuable. And then price to book, it was stunningly cheap. And they had no debt. Now, I mean, it'd just be interesting to see what the S and the 500 current PE ratio is. S&P PE ratio, S&P ratio is 23.46. So the S&P 500 is trading at 23 times earnings. And here is Apple trading at 29 times earnings. So it is trading more expensive than the broader stock market. That's not value. No fucking way I could touch that. Trading, I won't get into price versus earnings growth, but that's like GARP investing, and the magic ratio there is 2. Is 4.7 less than 2? No. Stay the fuck away from that. And then look at this. This is hilarious. You know what the actual value of Apple stock right now is? It's worth $3.84 a share. That's the intrinsic value of Apple stock. And you can see they've got $4 in cash on the books. And here we are at 100 and what? $78 a share? Like this is where investors are just stupid. There's no value here whatsoever. Like I often suggest to people that if I'm going for value, I want to buy an asset that's at or below book value. This thing's trading at I gotta get my glasses. This is such a big number. Holy crap. 46 times book. How the fuck do you justify owning this thing? This makes no sense at all. And oh, by the way, I don't like buying companies that are in debt. And this thing's trading at like 1.8 times debt to equity. They're carrying almost $2 of debt for every penny, every dollar of equity. This has got train wreck written all over it. I mean, there used to be a time when I would go, okay, I mean, I don't necessarily like Apple, but it's a value stock. There's no reason you should even think about shorting this. But I think you could actually make an argument from a fundamental perspective. This is a short. This is horrible. These numbers are an absolute train wreck. That's terrible, eh? Absolutely terrible. I don't know how they clean up this situation, but from a fundamental perspective, there's no fucking way in hell I could touch that. No way in hell. Sorry. Technically speaking, as we had said, and I think that your conclusion isn't bad. Where the hell is it? There it is. This is a weekly price chart. And if this big M does confirm, here's kind of a fun little treat for you. What does chaos theory suggest is going to happen? If this M actually does confirm, let's see, we got a fun little chaos study, but here, let's flip this around. We'll go there, and we'll go to there, and there you go. $143. I think actually that makes more sense. Notice that's in the reload zone. Wicks and tails like to be eaten, so there's a bunch of trap bears there. There's a bunch of trap bears there. They would love to get released. Probably two. Yeah. If we just draw a simple trend line off of that low to that low, just plain connect the dots, that's probably where price finds some sort of support going forward. So I don't mind your thinking here. The only issue here is that everybody and their brother in the market is long this thing. I certainly don't think it's a buy. And I wouldn't be surprised if the path down is massive spikes, both directions. It's just an absolute insanity move. And, like this is 178 and we go down to maybe like 140, or let's call that $40 on $180 stock, roughly, right? So what is that? That's about a 20% correction. I think there's probably easier ways to make 20% on your money. Like right now, if you're thinking short, I really like this. I posted this in the stock pickers room. I really like that as a head and shoulders top. It's not nearly as active in the marketplace as Apple. You're not going to get any white knights or anything. Notice that this will paint lower lows here. And what kind of chart pattern is this? Boom, 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 boom. Hello. So the question here would be, keep in mind too, this is a cheaper stock. So as a result, options aren't going to be so ridiculously expensive. But if we just did something as simple as a measured move and then clone that, if we do get the big correction in the market, that's $13.70 or so. That low there, 1368. And this is projecting down to $7. That's almost a 50% correction. I would much rather try and short or, maybe, and what I suggested to the group was I like the idea of maybe hunting like we'll buy like the $10 put and we'll write maybe the $7.50 put. So that'll be $3. And if we could do that put option for maybe less than, I don't know, 30 cents or something, that would be like a 10x trade. So I agree with you. I like this kind of negative. There's no way in hell you can justify buying an Apple here based on those fundamentals. I mean, that's just horrific. This is insanity. And of course, the market always remains illogical far longer than any of us remain solvent, right? But there's no way in hell you can justify this as a fundamental buy. No way at all. Impossible. But at the same time, too, it's obviously a market darling and everybody loves it. But I would simply say is if this big M does confirm, then you can start fogging bombing. And yeah, we're probably going to get a serious test of this bottoming range down in here. And they're probably going to run this. Notice there's a bit of a gap that happened here off of that level there. There's actually a little bit of a hole on the charts still on that gap there. There's also a little bit of a gap right in there. There's also a little gap right in there. So there's lots of reason to look for a move down into that area. And I like your thinking because I wouldn't be surprised if over the next 5-10 years, remember, Apple topped out in 1979, 1980, 1981, 1982, and then it turned into an absolute fucking, it was the worst stock in the fucking world. You couldn't give Apple away. And it went all the way down into like the single digits. And then Steve Jobs mysteriously came back on the scene, and all of a sudden Apple's a market darling again. So there's no, I mean, Steve Jobs is dead. There's no way in hell he's coming back now. And this thing is already priced to perfection. Do you really want to go and start investing in Apple now? I don't think so. And there's no way in hell I could. So I don't know, Mr. Wolf Boy, oh boy. I hope that helps speak to that question. I don't even know if that was a question. But I don't know. Give me some feedback whether you enjoyed that rant. What time is it here? Oh, I still got 20 minutes. Wolf Boy Oh Boy goes on to say in one interview, Kathy said, she said Bitcoin is going to be going to $1 million. Maybe. The issue here is not so much, in my opinion, of course. How do you say this right? How much would it take to buy a loaf of bread at your grocery store in those wonderful dollars when Bitcoin is $1 million? Is it a zero-sum game? Because let's say a loaf of bread right now, and keep in mind, probably when I was most of your guys' age, I mean, hell, I remember when I was a kid, a loaf of bread was like 39, 40 cents. I distinctly remember that. And then in the 1980 hyperinflation window, price of bread went zooming up to like a buck and a half. And I remember sitting at the kitchen table with my mother and her crying because she couldn't figure out how she was going to be able to pay bus tickets because in her budget, because bus tickets went from 25 cents to 35 cents, which, on a relative basis is a big move. You ever seen how much it costs? You know how much it costs to take the bus here in Vancouver nowadays? I mean, I don't ever take transit, but it is funny just to check in every once in a while. I mean, I get something like fucking $10 just to take the fucking bus. I mean, what the hell is going on in this world? So is it that riding on the bus is so great? Or is it that the value of these things that you're buying your bus ticket are worthless? We all know the answer to that, which is so pathetic. So, yeah, I think you could easily see Bitcoin $1 million. In fact, actually, the people that built Bitcoin originally, they fully expected that, right? Every 4 years, they just keep increasing the halving. And it's interesting how, Peter Fink coming in with his ETFs and going to try and fucking dominate the space. The very first thing that they want to lobby to do is increase the number of coins outstanding. And what I think should happen here is there should be a fork, and all the purists, Bitcoin maxis, all that kind of talk, those people should lobby for to stay with the original Bitcoin, the original amount of coins outstanding. And Peter Fink can have his forked Bitcoin and increase the number of coins outstanding, and he can go fuck himself at the same time. That's what should happen. Now, my hunch is American capitalism, they're going to try and figure out some way. I mean, like I said, recently I actually heard fucking Alan say, well, in his humble opinion, as Mr. Smarty Pants, global warming isn't really that big of an issue. Well, what the fuck have we just been rammed down our throat for the past 10 years to get your goddamn Tesla stock to go through the fucking roof? Because Peter Fink happened to own 1 million, 5 million, 10 million shares of your goddamn stock. And he owns all the media, and he owns Greta, and Greta sits there and, oh, geez, is she of age now? She's of age, right? She's over 18? So I'm not going to get into child porn kind of comments or anything, right? She's over 18 right now, right? Or is she? No, she's not over 18. All right. Then we won't touch Greta. But did we all just get fucking played up the ass by these people? I think we all did, which makes you sick to your stomach. So, could we see Bitcoin $1 million? Yeah, I definitely think so. Are the banksters going to every 40 years do one of these great resets and fuck us over? Mother crying at the kitchen table because she can't figure out how to come up with 50% increase in her butt tickets? Oh, Nori says Greta's 20 years old. We could talk about her sucking dick all day long. Chris doesn't want me saying that, though. Eddie likes that though. That puts a smile on Eddie's face. Anyway. All right. So, hey, there you go. See, her birthday was January 20, 2003. All right. So there you go. I'm off the hook. I don't have to worry about it. Right? Because if she's an adult, I can talk about her sucking dick all day long, can I? Anyway. All right. So back to our story. Yeah, I actually think that Bitcoin will trade at $1 million. The question is it going to be Satoshi's vision of Bitcoin? I'd actually be curious. Does anybody on the YouTube page, there's 30, 40 people watching. There's some people over here in the Hangout. How many of you actually own Satoshi's vision of Bitcoin right now? Do any of you own Satoshi's vision? Eddie says 0. Any of you? Nore, do you own any of Satoshi's vision? Do you have any idea of what the hell I'm talking about? So could we find that Mr. Fink comes out with Satoshi's vision of Bitcoin? It wouldn't surprise me. And you as responsible Bitcoiners, you have to somehow stand up to this guy and say, I'm not going to endorse that fork. Fine. You go off and you do your Satoshi's vision circle jerk. But I'm sticking with Bitcoin in its pure form. All right, I hope that answers that question. And I don't even know if that was a question or not. Brian's full of piss and vinegar today, eh? Oh, boy. Crypto expert says, "You are the one, Brian." No, I'm not. I'm just an idiot who's going to end up getting himself shot. But I think I've told all of you the one good part about me is that I lost everything of any importance to me. Well, not anything. I still have one more thing that's important to me. But I lost a huge, literally half my body disappeared 12 years ago. And I know all of you guys hate to hear this, but hey, at least I'm being truthful with all of you. I'd be more than happy to die this afternoon. If somebody just randomly walked up to me and thought they pissed me off and stabbed me or shot me right between the eyes and it was just a quick death, I would be so happy this torture is finally over. So because of that, and I told everybody yesterday when I was saying this yesterday, and people are like, "Shut up, Brian, don't talk that way." But the only fear that I have and the only worry that I have is what happens to my beautiful son, and he's just so vulnerable. And these cocksucker politicians, they're gonna fucking screw him over. So I still have his bitcoins, and according to Chico Crypto, I'm supposed to be able to buy a house with one Bitcoin. So if I have a few Bitcoins, I should be able to buy him a house and set him up with a good trust fund, so he should be able to live a half decent life for the rest of his days. But I lost everything 12 years ago. Everything. And it still hurts as much today as it did then. And that's the worst part about this. I just can't get over it. So hard. But what it does mean is that I don't have any strings attached. If anything, the strings that I have is I have acquired a bunch of new sort of dependents in a weird sort of way. I have to be the speaker of truth. I have to. It's the only value that I give you people. There's nothing else. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate it. I tell you, I've told people this before, and I think a lot of you kind of laugh it off and stuff, but I don't think this is a shitty life that I've had to live. But at the same time, too, when God closes a door, he opens a window. So I have been given this opportunity to try and help all of you guys. And in a weird sort of way, running this company now, I do have a whole new group of dependents. So I just have to speak the truth. I have to be honest. I know the shit that I'm trying to teach all of you works. There's no doubt about it. I've seen it repeatedly. Just go read this testimonial page. I mean, this testimonial page is, if anything, in a weird sort of way, this testimonial page is my epitaph. This is it right here. And I've told you guys before, any of you sitting watching this video and stuff, don't listen to me. I'm not, I'm a everybody's a salesman. Oh yeah, this is the best product ever, right? But listen to the students. The course itself is here to empower you. It's here to change your life for the better. So you don't have to get all sucked up into the Allens and the way that he manipulates you, or the Peter Finks and the way that guy manipulates you, or the Craig Wrights and the way that guy manipulates you. Take personal ownership of your life. And this course gives you that ability to take control, take ownership of your personal finances so that you're driving the bus. My apologies, I get all choked up. All right, let's keep moving this bus forward. I got 8 minutes. Did anybody put a question? Nobody still didn't put any questions here. Oh, goodness. All right, well, I guess TBG doesn't want me to ask his question or answer his question. All right, let's sorry I got all emotional there, but if anything, it's good that you guys realize that I'm a bit of a weirdo in this world. But if it's one thing I'm absolutely 100% with you people is I am straight from the heart. Straight. Where's the camera? I'm not going to bullshit you. It is what it is. All right. Let's see. Shumba says, even democracies kill. Ask the indigenous peoples of Australia, Canada, US, and Africa. Well, I might argue that in those kind of worlds, there wasn't really actually democracy. And it was like, there's democracy for us, but you're not invited to the party. So, if anything, what I would love to see, and Shumba, maybe you are part of this story for humanity's future, is we actually use blockchain technology to try and transform this fucked up world that we live in. I would argue that Canada is not a democracy. It is a parliamentary system that puts in place a dictator. And the fact that this substitute drama teacher can just go in and arbitrarily freeze people's bank accounts. And of course, in this electronic modern debit card world, you freeze somebody's bank account and you basically given them a death sentence. And this bastard could go in and just arbitrarily decide that person, you shall be excommunicated. Why? Because you gave a financial contribution to somebody who didn't like me and wanted to come to my residence and tell me that they didn't like me in person with a 3-ton trailer behind them. The irony of it all is that, that whole Ottawa bullshit that you saw there a year or so ago, the exact same thing happened in the Great Depression. It was called the On to Ottawa track. But the sad thing is that Canadians don't even know their own country's history. Do you think substitute drama teachers know history? They probably failed history. So the irony of it all is that there's nothing new going on here, but the fact that that SOB could actually go in and basically freeze people's livelihoods at the drop of a hat clearly demonstrates we don't live in a democracy here in this country. It's this bizarre 18th, 19th, 17th century form of let's make the plebes look like they live in a country that actually has rights. But in reality, actually, they have very, very limited rights. And in my country, the way that the system is set up, actually, the leader can rescind your rights at a moment's notice. And remember, substitute drama teachers have said publicly that they actually admire Winnie the Pooh and they admire the way the CCP can fuck people over in a heartbeat. So there you go. That's democracy? What a joke. All right. Edoshi says, hey, Brian, how do we get to your question spreadsheet as a member? Question spreadsheet about this AMA document? It's just as I think, Chris, don't you post this in the lounge and stuff? Yeah, Chris says that he does, so you can always find it there
in the members lounge.
In the members lounge. And if you post a question to Doshi and I don't have time because I've only got like 5 minutes left here, then I'll answer it tomorrow. All right. SMCI says Dennis. What is SMCI? Is that a crypto? Is it a stock? What is it? SMCI. SMCI. Well, it doesn't look like it's. Oh, there we go. Super micro computer. Ooh, sounds fancy. Certainly can't buy that. I think you've come a little bit late to the party. This must be an AI play. There's just nothing for me to comment about this. I couldn't touch that at all. TBG says soon as I bang out the next round of doubles. All right. Okay, so I'm not quite sure what you're asking me to look at, Dennis, here, but there's no way in hell I could touch that. In fact, actually, that's an outside downside key reversal, isn't it? So that's actually technically that's a short right out of the gate there on the weekly chart. That's a horrible chart. Can't touch that. MC hammer, all that kind of fun stuff. Okay, DXY outlook. Did make reference to DXY earlier. So maybe go back and watch the video from that point. As I had pointed out, Asian currencies look like absolute train wrecks. I was actually interested to see that the Chinese yuan, I tried to show you guys this earlier, but the trading view wouldn't give it to me. Maybe we see it on Forex. I don't know. US dollar, Chinese yuan. Let's see. Do we get something working here? Let's see what happens. And actually, there's a couple, so let's try this one first. All right. So if I understand correctly, as this thing's moving up, I think it means that the Chinese yuan's getting less valuable. Of course, this was the collapse of the Soviet Union and theoretically the collapse of the CCP. Remember Tiananmen Square? Please, everybody, don't forget about Tiananmen Square. This has been the past 20 years where basically they fixed the US dollar, and now it appears that it's maybe free floating again. I don't know. We had, of course, the Chinese Olympics, which do you guys remember when that was? Was it in February? What was the? I thought it was in 2020. Anyway, long and short of it here, it looks like we're breaking out to the upside here. So, there's been lots of data coming out of China saying it's an absolute train wreck there now. I suppose you could argue things like Feigenbaum's. This looks like a pretty wide W here. So there to there. And then Feigenbaum that. Boom. Wow, look at that, right off the map. So who knows how bad this could get. Like I said, you might find that this is one of these Chinese Lehman moments. I could easily see that happen. Interesting too. Look how that Feigenbaum does nothing more than just take us right back to when China was in the verge of civil war previously. So that's kind of interesting. We could also do another Feigenbaum off of this level. So somewhere up in this area sure looks like a realistic objective. So, the interesting thing about the US dollar is I am a US dollar bull for probably the next maybe 10, 15 years. What the hell? DXY not found? How's that possible? Oh, there it is. So the actual US dollar index, Feigenbaum's up top. Interesting. We didn't actually hit that one yet, So that hasn't yet to be hit, but that's probably the primary objective, which interestingly enough is just nothing more than a test of the 2000 highs. I don't see any reason why we can't go up there. You see A, B, C, D, and then you also see this Feigenbaum, which is probably what that Chinese thing is. That's projecting up into here. So I feel pretty confident in these upside objectives going forward. We would actually have to get a very well-defined M to come in here to actually tell me that this bull market's over. I don't think it's over for a long shot. And this thing will probably top out somewhere around, they go right off the map, so you can't even see it. So somewhere over here. So 2, 4, yeah, somewhere over here. So I don't know what this cycle is going to look like. I wouldn't be surprised if it's, something along the lines of up, down, spike, and then we start 15, 20 years of down. But I wouldn't be surprised if it looks something like that. Do we actually have any trade signals here? It's actually after 1 o'clock, so I think I'm going to have to wind it up there. TBG, when you're done driving, can you do me a favor and just cut and paste at the very least your questions from the Hangout here? I'll do you a favor, and we'll see what I say. What candle body highs, democracies, you lose, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this here and we'll try and talk about your question. I don't know whether maybe this is your question here, but we'll try and address that tomorrow. Maybe you can maybe beef that up a little bit. But I'll circle around and try and get to these questions. And somebody now puts one in. So it's going to be a while here. Well, not going to be a while. Whoops. Sorry, dude. I'm getting in your way. I don't know how to do the two there. But anyway, it is 1 o'clock. You know that at 1 o'clock, full stop, we have to head off and service the boy. So I hope you guys all enjoyed that crazy rant there of mine today. God, you never know what the hell's going to come out of my mouth. Hopefully I didn't say anything too insulting. But we did a pretty good job of addressing everything on the newsletter. And by all means, if you're interested, you can sign up to get this newsletter, which has the link to the video in it. So then that way you'll get the newsletter in your email. And of course, that has clickable access to the latest broiler chickens. And then I'll finally say, I'll say also too, I'll circle around in the after party and address these questions. If somebody asked a question on the YouTube page and was like, oh, I really, really wanted this question answered, can you just go into the lounge? I mean, just sign up for a 30-day trial if you want. But just go into the lounge and post it in there. And also too, in the after party, I will circle around tomorrow and address whether there are any DB questions that I didn't get to as well. DB requests. Yeah, it looks like there was a couple, so I'll try. Oh yeah, I think Cliff M, if you are watching this, it's probably best that I don't talk about day trade setups and stuff on these free videos on broiler chickens and stuff. But I'll be more than happy addressing your question in the DB request room. I'll be more than happy tomorrow to go through and address this setup. It's actually incredibly simple. The irony of what I do is I try to keep it as simple as possible. And that was the setup. So we had 4-hour trade location. I mean, basically you can see from the indicators, I actually can't see now because over time they get wiped out by new signals, but there was like 7 different bearish momentum confirmations here. So we had indicator confirmation, and then we had a big old fat M. So that's your 3 steps, right? Location, indicator confirmation, price structure, go. But I'll address that in earnest and we'll walk through it tomorrow in the after party. Okay, I think I'm going to try and stop talking now. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Sorry if it was a little bit too political for people's likings. I never know if I'm doing a good job at this or not. If you want to learn how to run a small business of trading, I think I haven't seen any other resource on the net that actually teaches you this skill set as well as TRI does. I think our level 1 instructor, Grim, is an absolutely perfect resource for all this. So take advantage of it while it's still here. It's ridiculously cheap for you guys. You know, let us try and change your life for the better. That's what this is all about. So wish me all good luck with the boy this afternoon. Try to be the demonstrator of best practices and being a good dad. Put a smile on Lily's face. Take him for a nice long car ride out in the country and give him some yummy treats that he likes. And we'll see everybody bright and early for trading first thing tomorrow morning. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. The only thing bright lights I say is bye for now.